Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe, and I am your host. My name is Tricia Carr. We have a wonderful episode for you. Oh, just really kind of a juicy one. So welcome to this episode. I'm so excited to bring this to you because I really find it to be extremely utilizable because of the way that I have been experiencing it. And my guest is a brilliant light in this area. We are talking about human design on this episode. I think you are going to really enjoy it. It's going to be fun and it's going to be informative. One of my favorite recipes. I'll bet it's yours too. Before we start though, with this conscious conversation with my guest, I want to invite you to be sure to check out the show notes where you will find the things that I have going on right now. Like I have 2 incredible programs, so incredible, so beautiful, so very helpful, so much value, and really incredibly affordable. We have the Empowered Empaths, which is really for those people who have the sensitivity, the empathic nature, and you want to improve how you are operating in the world so that you aren't sponging, so that you can purify your energy of other people's thoughts and feelings so that you can upgrade your life and utilize your sensitivity as a superpower, especially recommended for people who have an open emotional center in their human design chart. And then we also have easy intuition and meditation coaching. This is a 30-day journey. It's self-paced in a sense, but each day of the 30 days after you sign up, you get a meditation, you get lessons, and these lessons are on human design, as well as divination, as well as self-inquiry, and just having that connection with your intuition in an expanded way, and to help you to fall in love with, either for the first time or again, with your meditation practice, which is the bedrock, the foundation, the cornerstone. Honestly, not just for a spiritual life, but definitely for a spiritual life, but really for anyone. I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm a transpersonal hypnotherapist. So I know that the only way we actually truly make changes is when we make the change in our subconscious mind. And human design actually helps us with that, because when we're talking about inner authority, which human design lays out for each of us, or, to be able to be in your intuition, that is actually being in your subconscious mind. But the subconscious mind is the place where we hold things like limiting beliefs and patterns that are no longer serving us, because we need to be able to get in there and integrate the shadow aspects of those things that are holding us back. And that's what both of these different easy again and self-paced in a lot of ways programs will give you the opportunity to do. I made them so incredibly affordable. The Easy Intuition one is just $98. And I tell you, I'm not kidding, it's worth at least $1,500. And I'm doing these bonus live group meetings in August. So you want to check. And if you sign up anytime, these bonus meetings may be coming around here and there, but really it is about the powerful amount of content that you are getting. And again, I just want to say beautiful, and that's not me patting myself on the back. These things are channeled through me I channel them from the higher selves of those who would eventually be connecting with them. That's how spirit works. Spirit is that intricate, and that has that kind of a powerful design. Same thing for the Empowered Empath. But anyway, I want to talk to you about this episode now. I'm going to introduce you to my wonderful guest. And afterward, I want you to hang on, because I'm going to give you a little bit of a bonus kind of insight, teaching, contemplation on the not self themes of the open centers. I'm a reflector. All of my centers are undefined or open, some people call it. And so that's one of the things that I help people with. And whether you don't have to be a reflector, you probably have open centers. Some people have all defined centers, and they have a different set of sort of ways that they get conditioned. They definitely do, though. But I have a specialization in helping people to decondition their open or undefined centers. So I'm going to have a little bit of a teaching after our conversation. So stay tuned for that. But let me introduce you to my conversation partner on this episode. Super fun, super exciting. Erin Claire Jones. She's on again. If you didn't know, or if you're new to the podcast, well, first of all, welcome. But if you heard the last episode, then you'll love this one. And Erin Claire Jones is a human design guide and teacher. She uses human design to help thousands of individuals and companies step into their work and their lives as their truest selves and to their highest potential. Her work as a guide, coach, and speaker has attracted a growing community of over 200,000 people who turn her teachings for practical tools, digestible tips, and deeper self-knowledge they can access to live with greater ease and authenticity every single day. With work featured in Forbes, Mind Body Green, Well and Good, and Nylon, words shared on over 150 podcasts, such as Almost 30, That's So Retrograde, High Self, and Chatty Broads, and conversations with crowds of hundreds around the world. Erin's insights are highly sought after because they make human design pragmatic, tangible, and highly sought after because they make human design pragmatic, tangible, and accessible, and immediately applicable to everyday life. So just a recap here, in case you're new to it, I want to encourage you as you listen to this, whether it's right now before you listen or afterward, but if you haven't yet gotten into your human design experiment, as we call it, when we are, learning about it and seeing how it suits our lives, you can find your chart. You can go to the link that is in the show notes where you can get it from Erin's website. You can Google it and you can get a free chart any kind of way. But let me tell you that human design, it is a synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science that sheds light on a person's energetic makeup, as well as specific tools they can use to live at their happiest, healthiest, and highest potential. It doesn't change who they are. It teaches them who they are. It offers insight into what's possible and highlights the significance of understanding and living as the fullest expression of themselves. By putting this tool to work in her own life, Erin is showing the world a new way of work, a new path towards success, and a new perspective on living as who you truly are. Ooh, good words. Thank you, Erin, for those words. And I want to make sure that you know that Erin has this incredible offer of the Human Design Blueprint, where you get your blueprint and it's something you can continually go back to and work with. And there is a coupon for 10% off with the code CHARMED. So again, go to the show notes. You can click right through to get the blueprint and be sure to use that coupon code. Erin also has a special class coming up, which she talks about. So just keying you into all of these ways that this episode and Erin and all of this can help to augment your happiness and your health. And I am a living testament to it. I share it in the conversation. So without further delay, welcome to this conscious conversation talking about some prophecy of 2027 it's pretty cool, with Erin Claire Jones. And I will chat with you on the other side again with my little bit of a teaching on how to decondition your open centers, the not self themes of the open centers. So here we go with Erin. But I don't want to wait any longer to welcome on my amazing guest. She's been on the podcast one time before, but we haven't, not since I started doing this live on the multi-stream again. She is a human design guide and teacher, and her name is Erin Claire Jones. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so nice to see you again. I just enjoy your beautiful projector energy so much, and just everything that you bring, all the wisdom and clarity. And even in, the experiment of human design, we get to these points where we don't feel clarity because we want to use our intellect on it to try to learn it. And I feel like that happens in the experiment no matter what. But you bring this frequency of just clarity and calm about it. So I appreciate that so much.
Thanks for saying that.
Would you like to tell folks, in case they didn't hear the previous podcast, just about your journey and the work that you're doing for the 9-centered beings on our planet?
Yes. So my name is Erin and I work with human design. And I think that my goal with human design is just to make it as accessible and practical and useful as it can be. I think there's so many amazing tools out there, but I think what is so useful about human design is how we can actually implement all these tools, implement tools from like all the knowledge that it gives us. And so my goal is to really make it accessible to a more mainstream audience.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with human design since 2015, so for about 8 years now. Discovered it very serendipitously from a stranger, my first teacher, who invited me into it and told me I was meant to do it. And I believed him. And it's been, and I'm glad I did. But
So am
it's been
I.
yeah, but it's been an amazing journey. I think the first few years sharing human design were hard because it was just so new, and it felt like I was so in my freaky genius part of my design, but not in a way where it felt like I was actually being invited in to share it. So it's been really amazing to watch it grow and to watch the awareness and excitement around the system grow, because I think human design can be so transformative in so many parts of our lives. And so it's amazing to see it really taking hold.
Oh, I so agree. And so I was initiated into it in April of 2019. So really, I mean, 4 years, but like when that first year, there's something that happened, I guess in 2020, I'm thinking about it, that it just started to like pop off. I mean, everyone comes on my podcast now as a guest, whereas then I was like, have you heard of human design? I'm like, no, what's that? Now I can just assume someone's coming on my podcast and they're like, oh yeah. And even if they don't know a lot about it, they still know their profile or their type and have heard of it. And I found it to be, so my husband, he has a spiritual practice and he is a spiritual person, but he's not like me, you know what I mean? And also we tend to polarize, very practical. And he, he's just like, it just has to prove itself really wrong to me because it just keeps being helpful for myself and what I notice about others. And it's just, to have that kind of someone who is really looking for something more empirical. And that's what it provides for us, because it is an experiment. It isn't a faith. It isn't a belief system. It isn't, but it's a contemplation, which I think is beautiful because it takes us to inside.
Yes, I love that. And I feel like I've worked with many people that are very skeptical, but they're like, but like the only reason you would know this is because you've been following me around for 3 years. So like, they're like, I don't want to believe it, but just keep telling me more. So I remind people, like, if it's useful, take it. If it's not, let it go. But I do think similar to what's happening with your partner, it's just like, it's freakishly accurate and very specific, even if we don't really want to believe it.
Right. But it's like, it's nature is the way I see it, and it's so complete. Like I've been interested in astrology. I'm not an astrologer by any stretch, but my whole life, like I remember when I was a teenager, I loved, astrology, the mystery of it and how it seemed to reveal things about us. But since human design is a synthesis of 4 ancient observational sciences, including astrology, and then a new science, quantum physics, it's so, the synthesis of that is so complete. And it's, to me, I think it's really interesting that it all kind of aligned with also like us opening the genome and, these different awarenesses that we can just bring into our awareness collectively. But it makes sense. It's like if a flower grows in the garden, that if with certain amount of tools, we can understand why and how it grew in that garden and that imprint. And that's just, we're not much different. Just because Pluto is that far away doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact on our growth and our imprint, I would say,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild, but yes.
So we thought we might talk about something that's very interesting that human design shows us. And that is this 2027. I mean, it's actually a prophecy in one manner of speaking. In another manner of speaking, it's just an astrological and cosmological unfolding. It's just, again, a cycle. It's just nature, just how things are. It's an age. And that, again, is something that is not just in mysticism or metaphysics. We can look in our history and we go through these different ages. And so would you like to tell us about what is happening in 2027?
Yeah, I think, well, the short answer is we don't know, which I know we talked about. I think that I think with all systems, like it all depends on where you're learning it and learning it from. But I think people can get a little bit freaked out about what's coming. And I think, with 2027, the idea is that we're just transitioning into a new age, a new way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of moving out of an age of like institutions. This is called the cross of planning. It's around institutions and kind of like all this community. And we're in a more kind of very strategic, mental, logical energy into a much more individual, self-empowered, entrepreneurial, self-trust kind of energy, where it's like we might see some institutions break down and we might kind of see a lot of smaller things pop up. And I think, my understanding of this transition is that it is just reminds us and reinforces the importance of really tuning into our designs and operating as ourselves, whether human design is our system or not. But it's really around trusting ourselves, and I saw this a lot in 2020, honestly.
Right.
I feel like people just became a lot less tolerant to like old ways of doing things for them, where they might have been in a job they really didn't enjoy. And they're just like, oh, this is not right for me. Like, what is right for me? Like, I'm ready to like learn that and discover that. And so it's really about kind of moving into a more independent, self-empowered way of operating and really connecting to ourselves to do that. And for people that have 6-2s in their profile, they're really meant to be very powerful guides in this phase. Sometimes part of being a 6-2 is that we can feel like a little bit alien and feel like we kind of see things, but we're like, people don't see them differently. But I think that this new era might feel a more home-like, more comfortable to them, which is just interesting, and we'll see how it manifests. But I'm so curious about your perspective, because so much of the magic of being a reflector is that you just see, sense, and feel things that so few people do. And there's an ability to really evaluate what's happening and where things are progressing and where things are blocked. So I'm curious, in your observation of where we are, like, what do you see as the changes?
You're so sweet to ask me. And we will be right back. Easy intuition and meditation, your 30-day roadmap for an empowered life guided from within. It is live now. Only $98. This course is delivered as daily meditations, lessons, and prompts over the course of 30 days, and you have a whole year to access. Now, the intention here is to help you to gain that sovereignty in your consciousness, to be deeply in tuned and attuned to your intuition, and to have that show up in your life. So if you have been feeling bewildered or lost or uninspired, this sense of needing to be on your life's mission, well, it all comes down to you. And meditation is the portal for this. If you have struggled in the past to have a meditation practice that is self-healing and inspiring, or if you are just ready to upgrade and rekindle a deep romance with the universe through your meditation practice, well, this is designed for that. And if you would like to get in touch with your intuition so it can direct your life, whether for the first time or one of the first times or for the 100th time, again, this is for you. This is extremely high value and very affordable, $98. You have access to the first lesson now, and you will get all of the lessons and meditations in a 30-day cycle. If you want to go and check out the information page, you have a sample of the lessons, you have a sample of the meditation, so you can really get the idea of this. We have high quality produced meditations, easy to digest education that is attuning and meditative in and of themselves, lessons on divination, lessons on human design, prompts for journaling, self-inquiry and divination, and for a limited time only, we have bonus healing sessions. If you're listening to this now, you definitely want to check when those healing sessions are coming up. Now, I will tell you, they are very soon, and these are bonus to it. They are group, they are powerful to give us a sense of that upgrade and a sense of community and a sense of witnessing under this container of spirit. So check it out. It's coming up very soon. I can't wait to see you there. Empowered Empath. This is a program designed for the sensitive soul, for the person with that empathic nature. And by the way, that is a healing ability. However, this is a healing ability that you can't turn off. You cannot turn off your empathic nature, because it's more than just a psychic or healing ability. It is also how you are designed. So the Empowered Empath is a powerful program that is also gentle, consists of 4 modules with 8 life-altering lessons, 4 aura tuning meditations, and we have bonus group healing and coaching sessions that are coming up really soon. You definitely want to check the show notes so you can see when those are coming up. You have access to it for a whole year. You'll be able to continue to water the garden of your empathic nature. You'll learn how to feel centered and peaceful as a sensitive person, how to use your gifts as a superpower that they are meant to be, and you'll be receiving attunement and healing and new life strategies to live in the power and purpose of your sensitive nature. It's especially tailored for those who want to turn their empathic and sensory overwhelm into intuitive strength. It is immersive, yet very gentle, program, and it's suitable for all levels of development. And I especially recommend it for those whose human design body graph reveals that they have an undefined emotional solar plexus. So if you are just ready to turn that sensitive sponging into the thing that we really need right now, we need your sensitive genius shining on this planet to be in the high frequency, high functioning of your sensitive superpower. So join Empowered Empath. You have access to the lessons starting right away. Oh, by the way, it's very affordable and even comes with payment plans. Only $177 for all of this content, and you can make a payment plan of 3 months or 6 months. I made it extremely affordable and accessible because I know what it's like to need the help. So if it's your first time of really healing your empathic nature, or you need to do it another time, this is the program for you. I can't wait to see you there. And now back to the show. Well, I actually just, so funny that I got full body chills because I realized, there was this thing, it like started to power up in our awareness even more exponentially so in 2020. Of course, that's when we had the pandemic and the shutdown and everything. And then even they called it the big quit or the big resignation because people didn't want to go back to work because they're like, this sucks. And I'm like healthier and happier, now that I'm not going into that box. But I just realized this, Erin, look, 2027 from 2020, that's 7 years. And that's the general rule for deconditioning.
Yeah, so true.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild. I hadn't realized that.
I didn't realize it till right now either. Mm-hmm. So if we're in this awareness where we're deconditioning, and that's why it's felt so fast lately, I think, people have been saying there's a great awakening, even before then, but there's been a momentum, and it seems to be doubling of awareness is opening and personal and individual awakenings. And then that is just coming into it's about the personal and individual, right? It's about the autonomy. And it's just adding to this, maybe that 100th monkey kind of thing, where the 100th monkey takes on a new habit, takes on a new energy, and then it's just made a complete change in the entire society. Mm-hmm. So, but what I see, I mean, there are other things that I'm seeing are just major indicators, AI coming into our, daily life in such a powerful way. Also, there's probably still some shifts that are showing up with us changing from the way that we are on the internet to more of a metaverse model. But then, and the opportunity with that but probably will be missed to some large degree, for us to become decentralized of certain commercial agencies. You know what I mean? Like right now, the internet isn't really decentralized. It's Google. You know what I mean? Like that's how we access almost everything. And then, some other big players in that. But, Meta will build their own metaverse, and probably Bezos will build his own metaverse. And then the opportunity was for it to be fresh, though. And maybe that will maybe we'll work that a little bit better. But decentralization. And what I mean by that is, think of the old church model. It's not old, it's still in play. But what makes a religion or a church, one of the main components is a centralization. So that means there is a central authority, there's a central conference or a central leader, and a central doctrine and tenets of faith. So if there's something that is like, this is the authority outside of you, and then you make yourself come to it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's generally what is breaking down. I think religion is, again, probably not going to we won't see the big effects of this for 50 to 100 years. But religion as a spiritual technology is being shown more and more as outdated. And because we've moved past the information age, and we're now in what I see as the consciousness age. That means that our consciousness is the greatest asset that we have, and also the greatest potential commodity by those agencies of commercialism that would want to, make money off of us the way that they made money off of our data, Mm-hmm. And so that's where we are now. But I also see this as, I'll just be honest with you. I see a lot of indications, and I feel the energy of us being able to have open contact with extraterrestrials who are here, and the government is becoming more increasingly incapable of concealing the information that we already have, and that they are here with us, and that they are benevolent, and they are because they are more advanced, if they could be here and come to us, and they want to help us, and they want to be friends to us. And so that being able to become open on an awareness, that's going to shake people's paradigms and decentralize the individual, and have them have to come to their own, to Jesus inside. And so just that, all of that will kind of, again, quicken us in technology, both spiritual and other technologies. And it's just going to empower us all and kind of raise the playing field of the way that we exist in so many ways. And the potential for that, I see in 20 years after 2020, so 2047-ish, is that we can start to really heal this planet in a significant way, because our climate crisis is no joke. So those potentials, of course, we don't know. But then, all of the other amazing things that could happen with the new children coming on the earth. Well, think about that. The new children will be in their 20s. They'll be adults in 2047. Yes, so talk about the new children.
I mean, again, it's like, we don't totally know, but I do feel like there's this sense that like the children we're kind of moving again from this more like mental awareness to a more emotional intelligence. This new kind of emotional awareness and empathic nature, and very sensitive to touch, and very sensitive beings. And so it'll just be really interesting to kind of see who these kids are, and I feel like, I don't know, because I don't know what babies were like 20 years ago. Like, I didn't experience that, but it's just like, as somebody that who is a new mom, and like is around a lot of kids, like, I mean, they're just amazing. And maybe this is just true of babies, but it is like, it does feel like they're so deeply connected and so deeply aware. And like, and so, what I'm noticing with my daughter is just like, she's just so conscious of everybody, and like, and is so attuned to each of them. And so, I don't know. I think I'm curious to see, but I do think we are moving out of a more kind of mental, logical survival awareness into a much more empathic, aware, attuned one. And I'm curious to see how that actually manifests in kids.
I wonder if they'll just be they'll develop a mental construct, which is, we're not born with a mental construct. It's a clean slate. And we develop our intelligence and our mental body by experience, by, the outside world presenting us things, and we make a known associations, what we call it in hypnotherapy, a known association. We create a belief, or we create an understanding about that. And then that starts to become our logic, reasoning, analysis, willpower, and decision-making.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that will be that will be online, but it just won't be as important. It will be maybe equal or something like that, or it'll be used as the passenger instead of the driver as much as it is now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important reminder, because I think, whatever our design is, none of us are really meant to make decisions from our mind, but it's when I share that with people, it's not because the mind is not valuable.
No, we need it. Yeah.
We need it desperately. Yeah. It's just around knowing how to use it, and knowing that it's often not the most reliable tool to assess opportunities for us, because we can convince ourselves in or out of anything. And there's a deeper, clear authority within us that we can really trust. And so, I wonder if it's a more healthy kind of relationship to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. And the thing is, as really we're both very interested in the mechanics of it. You know what I mean? Like, I love to see the mechanics of it, because it's brilliant. It's how, the neutrino field is imprinting us. And I have been wondering, I mean, are we going to get a new design type? Of course, we won't know until someone has the revelation.
Yeah.
But the way we got projectors, and what was that, 1731? I always forget the date, when Uranus came on to our awareness. 1731.
It's in the 1700s for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when we got projectors, because when we collectively became aware of Uranus, then we could receive its imprint or guidance, or, just like how human design came online well after we were aware of quantum physics,
Yeah.
So anyway, projectors came online then, or that we got a new design type. So I've just been wondering about that. Of course, I haven't seen that prophesied by anyone. We're having a solar plexus upgrade.
Right.
Are we going to, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see, but I love that curiosity, because I do feel like there's a lot of, space for evolution. And even you look at the Gene Keys, and kind of like how Richard Rudd was one of the first students of human design, and like really kind of went and evolved this whole new thing. And like, and so Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of space always for evolution. And even like, I'm so grateful for all the knowledge that Ra, the founder of human design, brought through. But, I watched in the past 4 years for people to really, and including me, translate all that stuff in ways that I think make it accessible to a much broader audience. And so I guess I'm just curious of like what the continued translation is and the continued understanding. And if there are more revelations, yeah.
I think it's cool that the revelations, again, to make it practical, they've come with things that are practical, quantum physics being, birthed. And then 80 years later or something like that, that's when we were ready for Ra to bring through, to channel the human design system. And, Uranus, that's when the projectors, but of course we didn't know and then we didn't understand the types because human design wasn't online, but it's all like these different shifts come with something that is actually historically, we can look at. So that's probably, again, with the 2027 shift, while we have a lot more information and a lot more conscious awareness, we're able to operate more freely with the principle of non-locality, which is all points in time and space are related and aren't, subject to the time and space constraints. So to me, I feel like while our pattern has been about 100 years after some major shift or advancement, that it's actually more ubiquitous in our human race. And then with quantum physics to human design, if we take that measure, that was about 80 years, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe it was even 60. And so that's why I think it's going to be a faster paced, of course, 100 years afterward, because the whole population will be much more flooded with this new type of child or human that's coming online and the solar plexus mutation and all of that. But I think we're going to see powerful shifts sooner. Maybe it's 50 years. Maybe it's the 20 years that I'm talking about. But I think I just find it all very exciting and very positive. And the antithesis to what fear-mongering from the shadow of humans coming up with a religious, Armageddon kind of thing. I think it's the opposite of that. Yeah. Even though things will, crumble, of course, too.
Of course. And that's part of the process. But I think that that's very hopeful hearing that from Reflector, to kind of just like see the possibility. Because I think it is really easy with all things to kind of just see like, I don't know, like a negative application of it. And again, I've heard that so often with the 2027 of people getting really scared when we just don't know. But I think the fact that you're sensing all that positivity and all the hope and feels really exciting.
How have you been noticing it with your students and clients? And actually, tell us practically what you have going on in your professional world and how people can work with you.
Yeah, I think, in terms of noticing, like, I think it's just more and more people like coming into the fold of human design, and more and more people kind of it's just crazy. And it's like through people that are just interested in it, through people that want to teach it and learn it. Like, I think that the growing awareness of it feels like, and again, it started, I would say, in 2018. It really skyrocketed in 2020. And now it's just like consistently growing, but like in ways that I don't think I ever could have anticipated. Like, I think I expected so much skepticism and I've just received so little. And I'm watching one thing that's really cool to see. And I love bringing human design to teams is like, I'm just watching like whole teams, like get their blueprints and dive into their design. And it's people that are just like, have never explored any kind of mystical stuff, but they're like, this is so cool. So I think that like, that's where I'm seeing it the most is just like the growing awareness and a recognition that this is a really useful tool.
Awesome. It's
cool.
I've been lately watching and listening to a lot of near-death experience stories. And when the near-death experiencers talk about, they go to the other side and they just feel that profound, how they're known and how they're loved. And it's like when you get your human design blueprint, which we have the link up here for you to get. And then you see that it's like the universe wrote a user manual about you. It knows you and there's no mistakes. All of those things. And it's right there. It's right there. Tell us about your blueprint.
Yeah. So one of our signature offerings is the blueprint, and it is basically a book all about your unique design. And it walks you through all the most important pieces in a really practical way so you can actually use it to find more flow in your life. And like you said, it's basically an operating manual. And we have a discount code, which is Charmed.
Yeah.
But it's just, if you want to kind of dig into all the most important pieces of your unique design, it's really the perfect place.
And what's so great about it is, and I put the code in the comments, and it's just charmed, like charmed life. What's so great about a big compendium like your blueprint is because we do want to take a small piece and contemplate it and experiment with it and see how we attune to it, or it attunes to us, or leave it. Like, definitely anytime we start to get overwhelmed with anything, honestly, we're over intellectualizing it, and we are not actually in the embodiment process. But because it is so detailed and layered, you can keep going back to it. And even the pieces that, I swear, I go back and look at something really obvious, like my profile, and I feel into it, and there's some new layer of being 5'1" that is so meaningful to me, and showing, and I'm learning and deconditioning and all of that from right now. So I think it's wonderful. It's a wonderful tool.
It is. And I think that human design is like an awareness tool. I think that like we often need to keep coming back to it, even if we've been studying it for years, and I think the blueprint is just meant to be that resource of like, I had somebody share today that like whenever she's feeling a little bit off, she just goes back to like be reminded of who she is and where she's getting taken off track. And so I think those reminders are so useful.
I'm going to share with you, if you don't mind, about, so let's see, I was initiated in my human design experiment in 2019. So we are about four or so years in. And only this year have I been seeing such profound shifts by being able to live more my design. And it's weird for a reflector, because we don't have like, your authority is this, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's so, but that's okay, because we're also designed for it to be ephemeral. So, but what has happened, I mean, I did detox I was, in some wrong company and wrong community. And so that's one big piece that I diminished. But it took me, it's taken me over a year or so to heal from that, from being in the wrong place. I started to allow myself to rest more, allow myself to be more creative, and just all of the pieces of it. And what I found is, well, first of all of these body syndromes that I had, meaning like I had pains, different kinds of things that were, thank goodness, no big diseases, but I did have reproductive pain and issues, major issues, digestive major issues. I was frequently having headaches, exhaustion, burnout, not able to work very much, which I'm like, okay, I'm not an energy type.
Right.
But since I started to do things like just take care of myself more in all of the different ways, my resiliency as a reflector, even though we're so technically vulnerable because we're so open, we are so resilient too.
So resilient. Yeah.
So I can work because of all of the other things I've done, the deconditioning and the taking care of myself, and making sure that I sleep enough. As long as I get 8 hours or 10 in bed, but 8, you know what I mean? Like sleep.
Yeah.
I can work like I don't know, it's not really like a manifesting generator, but I can work a lot, and I feel fine, and I feel great, and I feel good. So I feel so empowered to be able to continue on my mission. And I couldn't see it until the actual stuff started to, actually come online. So I love, we are vulnerable, but there's the paradox to it that as a reflector, so strong and so resilient. So yeah.
I think it's such an important reminder, because like thank you for sharing that, because I think the sensitivity piece is obviously a really integral part of being a reflector, but like at your best, at your most wise, you kind of like are observing the things, but they're moving out of you as quickly as they come in.
Yes.
So you're not going to like,
they're supposed to be, at least.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be.
Exactly. That's the ideal world. That is the resilience, is like a healthy level of detachment. So I just love that you're experiencing that, because I think we don't often talk about how resilient reflectors can be. And also, it's like you magnify the world around you. And so like at your best, you actually probably have an extraordinary amount of energy.
And exactly.
It's just around kind of knowing when to pause, when to take breaks, and making sure that it feels really sustainable for you. Exactly. But I love hearing that. And also just a reminder for any reflectors listening, it's like you said, the being in the right community, in the right space, around the right people is so essential, because you take it and magnify the energy around. So being really proactive and wise about which energy you're choosing to take in.
And that was probably a big piece of it. And community can mean also like a primary relationship, unfortunately.
100%.
And so that was for me. And then now I realized there's so much less toxicity in that I'm having to heal from. That's why I had all of that illness. And so my husband is a projector like you, and he's starting to, because he's been in his experiment, for a while there, it was just like kind of a little bit bummed because it's like, this is how I am, but the world is really designed for manifesting generators. I guess I'm just not going to be successful or, wealthy or anything, or be able to work as much as I want or create as much as I want. But he's turning a corner with that. So did you find that too, as you actually sunk into and really your design and your authority and everything, you started to work with it correctly, or it became correct for you, that all of that bitterness kind of started to shift because you found out what your gifts really are?
Totally. And I think allowing a lot more success because of it. I think that like I was trying so hard to be a generator, and like I was doing fine, but like fine, and I think that like I have tapped into levels of like, if I looked back, I'd be like, what? I would I just like, I don't think I could have ever imagined that I would go where I go and I am where I am. And like, but being a projector is so much of what brought me into alignment with that. And it really tapped me into a level of success I didn't realize was possible, but also a way of doing it that was so fun and like, and so much more sustainable. And I think so different than what I imagined. So I so hear that, it can be like, but can I be successful? But I do believe when we really align with our design, we end up tapping into just alignment in every part of our lives. And that often leads to success we probably couldn't have imagined in many ways.
Yes. Oh, I just love it so much. We're just so loved. We are so held and we are so known. And that even though I know human design is not a belief system or not even kind of technically a spiritual paradigm, technically speaking, but I mean, it's composed of how we are spiritually aware. But it is, for me, I'm just so, we are designed. We are designed just like the sacred geometry that we find in nature that is undeniable. And, a scientist can't deny the fact that there's this precise and magical design. And it actually comes all the way out to the details of us, not just something that is like minutiae.
So true. Yes, totally.
So you have you have something coming up soon, right? Do you have a training? Is that what it is?
I do. I have the third round of our live course. I launched it for the first time last year when I was pregnant, and it was amazing. We had, I think, 180 students in that first round, and it was really around teaching people how to share human design and teaching people all the ins and outs of the system, whether it was, for their own benefit as a reader, or just to integrate into their own practice. So that we'll have a round in the fall, and we have lots of classes if people want to dive in now, but we'll do a live round of the course then.
That's so
and
great.
That's a link to sign up for the waitlist. Yeah.
Oh, right. I put a link in the live chat to sign up for the waitlist. And then if you're listening to the replay, it's in the show notes. And it is so applicable. Like if you are a manager or something like that, it is genuinely, it can be synthesized into, and or if you're a family, you know what I mean? Like there are so many ways that it can be synthesized so authentically into, what we are doing in our lives. And I think it's really incredible. So I do really love the way you do make it practical and clear and utilizable. So important. Yes. Yeah. Not just, I love to get in the weeds, but it's not.
And the weeds are amazing, and I think, but I do feel like a lot of the people that are attracted to the way that I teach it is just like, they want to know how it can be used. They're like, how can I use this in my parenting? How can I use this in my coaching? Like, so I think that was something that felt missing in all the courses and trainings that I've taken. Yeah. And so it was so exciting to finally create a training that was so rooted in like, how can it be practically applied to every part of our lives?
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, this has been incredible. I could talk to you forever. Is there any other last thing you want to share before we wrap up today?
No, just grateful to you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on, Erin. And remember to grab your blueprint and use the promo code or the discount code CHARMED. Yes. Thank you so much for being on, everyone. This is Erin Claire Jones. Be sure to find her on Instagram and all of the places. Check the show notes and just keep expanding and coming into alignment with your design. Thank you for coming on, Erin.
Oh my God, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I just enjoy being in Erin's energy so much. I gushed over her already in the conversation, but I just wanted to say it again. I hope you found this as exciting and kind of titillating and, positive looking forward as I did. And I just feel so invigorated after having a conversation like that. So I just, with all my heart, welcome you to, take all of this into your own personal empowerment, your own self-inquiry, because that's why we do it. We're doing it for you, for all of us. So I thought I would talk to you about the themes or the not self themes of the open centers in the human design chart. So with the human design chart, you get this body graph. It has 9 centers in it. And the ones that are white, even if they have, some dots in them, those are the gates. But the ones that are white are not colored in. Those are called the open centers or the undefined centers. And these are the ones that are, the energy centers, it's another way to say chakras. They're actually the most vulnerable to outside conditioning. And that conditioning occurs when you're operating or accepting things that are thoughts or beliefs that are not actually aligned with especially your personal strategy and authority, which is something we learn from human design. So when you are operating, thinking, feeling out of alignment with the strategy and authority, you can experience life in this not self theme. So it's not you. It's not your actual theme of who you really are. And so this is kind of like, the shadow aspect. And this experiencing the not self from time to time is perfectly natural. It's an aspect of our growth and learning and mutation, and it can help us to make quantum leaps. But what we want to do is to actually resolve the not self and get back into the alignment. So they're a great opportunity for expanding in wisdom, your open centers. They are considered the greatest opportunity for expanding in wisdom, as well as being the most vulnerable. So let's just run through these real quick. You can consider this if you have looked at your chart, or maybe you can pull it up if you're able to. You might know 1 or 2 offhand if you're driving and you don't have time to actually look at it. But, earmark this part here, this timestamp this so you can come back to it. So the not self theme of an open or undefined head center is thinking about things that don't matter. Now, the head center is also a pressure point, so there is this need or pressure to find external inspiration. There's like 70% of the people have open head centers. I'm a reflector, so I'm one of those. And boy, that pressure to find external inspiration, it can be a lot. So thinking about things that don't matter. And this could also look like sometimes seeking advice or answers from someone else. And before I head forward, I just want to mention that I talk about human design in these 2 programs I have going right now that are, again, they're actually available always. They're going to continue to be available always. The Easy Intuition and Meditation and the Empowered Empath, and especially in the Empath when I talk about the open centers. So just a little heads up there. Okay, we have the Ajna Center, which is the third eye. And the not self theme here is pretending to be certain and needing to figure things out. And sometimes this will show up as a fear of sharing your own opinions because you're pretending to be certain, and we're kind of operating outside of the alignment of what is the true connection and your true place, because you could feel ostracized sometimes when you're feeling like you're pretending to be certain about things or to figure things out. So that's the Ajna Center, not self-theme, pretending to be certain. Next is the Throat Center. The Throat Center's not self-theme is trying to attract attention and seeking attention, usually through talking. And it can lead to feeling uncertain about success and uncertain about whether things will manifest and needing to pressure that they will manifest. So again, Throat Center, trying to attract attention. Identity Center, and that is actually really like the higher heart. The heart is composed of 2 centers in human design, the Identity Center and the will/heart will or ego center. So the Identity Center, this higher heart, it's fixated on finding love and direction. Now, this is, again, I'm talking about the open or undefined centers, but even if you're defined in any of these areas, you can still have that not self-theme show up. It's just you're a bit more vulnerable to it, or maybe it's a more constant, regular occurrence for you to experience it when that center is undefined. And, if you're a reflector like me, we cycle through this a lot. We cycle a lot faster on a tighter kind of cycle. We cycle faster on a tighter cycle, but yeah, we have a shorter cycle of full experiencing because, for example, well, not just for example, but one way we can see this is that we are on a lunar cycle, whereas everyone else, all of the other types, are on a solar cycle. And what that means is in 1 year, everyone else, all of the other types that are not reflector, experience the themes of all of the I Ching, the themes of all of the universal themes. They experience them over a year. But a reflector experiences them very quickly every single month, over 1 month. So we're like a 12-to-1. So we, with our open centers, undefined centers, taking a little moment for the reflectors, you might know one or you might be one. While we experience these things rapidly, frequently, we also are supposed to, or the way we're designed is to release it, to move through it really quickly too. So that's the beauty of us. All right, so the identity center, the not self theme, is fixated on finding love and direction. And direction is I found love about almost 20 years ago. And but that's not just that's my romantic love, that's my life partner. But there's other ways that we're talking about love, friendship, acceptance, and that all, really ties into direction because it is in community and it is in interaction that we tend to be moving in our direction really fluidly. So fixated on finding love and direction and like seeking identity through relationships with others. That's the identity center or that higher heart, not self theme. Next, we have the heart center, also called the will or the ego center. And this is needing to prove your worth. And, oh, boy, do I know that one. It also can manifest as needing to be in control and this pressure to be really brave. So, and pressure to make promises. This is especially if you have it undefined, because the heart will center, when it's undefined, it isn't here to prove anything. I mean, no one is here to prove anything. But you can't prove yourself by making promises because you don't know the future of how your energy is going to flow, because that center empties out, and it's a motor center that you don't have the sustainable, predictable resource of. So that feeling, the not self of it would be pressure to make promises and then to prove your worth by keeping those promises, even if it's to your own detriment. That's your heart center or your will or ego center. Now, the spleen center, not self-theme of this being open, is holding on to what isn't good for you. Once again, I'm receiving all of this because I'm seeing the times in my life when I do this. And this can also have a fear of negative consequences to your actions. Spleen is a fear center. So this is a place when we are holding on to things that aren't good for us, we're afraid to let them go because of what it might mean. All right, next we have the solar plexus center, which is our emotional center. And the not self theme here is avoiding confrontation and truth. Now, I want to tell you that as the open emotion, there's 50% of the population have open emotional center. We are more sensitized to confrontation, especially emotional confrontation, or, I guess all confrontation is emotional. And sometimes if there is an option, like, for example, in my partnership, my husband has a defined emotional center. So if there's something that feels emotionally confrontational and I'm a little uncomfortable with it, then and it has to do with both of us, obviously, then he might be the one to do it. Whereas sometimes in other situations, because of my openness and I can envision a future and a potential, then I will take the lead in that. But if it's for me and he can't really do my work for me, my avoidance of confrontation, if it is limiting me, I have to go within and find that inner strength and let the emotions find their own stability and clarity so that I can move to the confrontation that is helping me to get to the truth. So that's the not self theme of an open emotional center. And, that's one that many of us know well. So now we have the sacral center. And if you have the sacral defined, then that is your generator or manifesting generator. Otherwise, you have it undefined. And the not self theme here is not knowing when enough is enough. And let me tell you, if you have an undefined sacral and you're going to go to a party, I'm going to go to a party and there's going to be dancing and there is going to be some fun, but I will get in that atmosphere. And with the undefined center, you're amplifying. You're actually feeling all of that sacral energy really intensely. And it's hard to know when enough is enough. So if I'm going to go to a party, this is just one example, then I kind of consciously review what would happen. And I'm like, I know that it makes sense that I need to exit at, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. or something like that, because I know what my energy reserve so far, how tired I am, how much I have, or what I have to do the next day, and so on and so forth. And I kind of have to define it in advance, because when I'm in the atmosphere, I'll lose sight of knowing when enough is enough. But of course, that can manifest in so many other ways, knowing when it's time to stop working, knowing when it's time to exit a relationship, so on and so forth. That's your sacral center, not self-theme. And finally, our root center, not self-theme, is always in a hurry to be free of pressure. Our other pressure center here is the root center, and this hurrying to be free of pressure, only to find out that the pressure never lets up because you're pulling it in from outside. It's not even your pressure. So just be aware of that. It can show up a lot in work because of the stability, the survival, and all of that. And it can also show up as a pressure to find your passions. And so just be aware of those pressure centers, the head and the root. And specifically, the root is always being in a hurry to be free of pressure. So there you go, guys. That is your little bonus teaching. The not self themes of the open centers, really the not self themes of the centers in general, but especially if they are undefined, you might be experiencing those as opportunities for growth. So that's what I have for you in this episode, with another invitation to check the show notes to be able to get that coupon for Erin's blueprint, as well as the programs that I have going on. I'm super excited to connect with you in all of these ways. Remember that I am doing my podcast live, multi-streamed, but you really want to find it on YouTube. So if you have the inclination or the interest and the time to show up live, it's on YouTube on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, and you can join in the conversation and see what's happening live. So there you go. Thank you so much for being a part of this energy. Do share it with someone if you think that they would find it useful. Be sure to leave a review in your podcast app. That helps me so, so much. And thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.